Okay, welcome to the Hyde Park Central School District Board of Education meeting. Today is April 7th, May 7th, sorry, 2015. The time is 5:30. May I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss confidential matters pertaining to the employment or future employment of a particular person or persons?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. And we oppose? We're now in executive session. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us while we get back in session here. May I have a motion to leave executive session, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Now, this time, we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance. Where did the flag go? Oh, there it is.
Oh, they're
Moved it
testing
on.
us. See if we recognize it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's actually supposed to be over there because it's supposed to be.
I know it is. That's why I turned that way.
Yeah.
But
Because why?
It's supposed to be to the speaker's right when it's
Yeah,
on
yeah,
display at a podium or, so, and, since there's a bunch of us here, Doug is considered the center of the table, so.
Good to know.
Yeah.
okay,
To the right, to the right.
that brings us to the public hearing and comment on the 2015-16 budget.
Okay, so I have to do that. The presentation.
Well, yeah,
Is it all queued up?
yeah.
Yes.
So first we'll start with 4.1, the presentation, and then we'll have comments afterwards.
Hold you guys to come at 7:20. Okay, so this is probably, since there have been really no changes since the time that we presented the budget, this is now at least your fourth or fifth time hearing that, but hoping that we have some of our viewing audience, thank you cameraman Steve, joining us. We will run through this. Each year we put up two propositions. Our first proposition is for our general operating budget, and the second proposition is for the school bus replacement plan. This year, Proposition 1 is an $88 million budget. It represents a 1.29% budget-to-budget increase and a 1.77% increase in the tax levy. In order to get to this point, we certainly utilized everything, but came up short. And we are still living off a savings account to the tune of $2.9 million out of fund balance. And we did realize some savings and began to, at the recommendation of our auditors, we could reduce our employee retirement system reserve fund by $250,000. So that was in order to get to the $88 million, we did need to borrow from reserves and fund balance. The personnel changes this year, as we've said before, last year we eliminated the Dean of Students position at FDR High School. We did so reluctantly. We said that we would monitor the situation, provide a mid-year update, which we did, and at that time it was our recommendation to reinstate the Dean of Students at FDR High School. I shared some statistics at the time about all of the programs that have been added in recent years and the fact that the decline in students is really not enough to warrant downsizing the management of the building. I also explained that if you take the students that are in grades K through 3 right now, and if all things stay the same when they are in the high school, we will be down approximately 250 plus students, and at that time, we may revisit it. We're adding 1.5 secretaries. Technology, everything is technology now. Our phones, our security system, it's more than just an add-on department so that kids can have access to computers. Everything we do is electronic, all of our reporting to the state, all of our purchasing. So we're adding a secretary to the technology department. And in Aviva's department, we brought Medicaid reimbursement in-house last year from BOCES. We used to outsource that. We brought it in-house and realized that it really needs the attention of a part-time person. The reimbursements that we realize through Medicaid reimbursement by having somebody do this paperwork more than pays for that position. Those reimbursements would just go unrealized if we don't have somebody paying attention to detail. We are adding a business manager because we are eliminating the assistant superintendent for business. Every year when we hear back from the public, they indicate that they want us to try and downsize administrative staff, and here I am adding the dean position back in. So we really started to examine, well, what could we look at? And we certainly looked at the top level and realized that by making the change from an assistant superintendent for business, by eliminating that position and downsizing the position, we could save $30,000. So that $30,000 will offset the expenses of the dean. So we were trying to be sensitive to the fact that we don't want to continue to add administrators. So we found one way to downsize a position and realize some savings there. Elementary webmasters, we're just shifting some funding around. This is a direct response to a lot of the surveys, the parent surveys that we've done. The up-to-date information via our website, Facebook. It's going to be more than a webmaster position, but our up-to-date information, especially at the elementary schools, because we eliminated the elementary webmasters a couple of years ago when we were in real dire straits. We kept it at the high school and the middle school, and the feedback that we've been receiving through surveys is that we need that communication and it needs to be up to date. So we're just taking some money from one area of the budget and transferring it to another. We are still declining enrollment at our elementary schools, so we're anticipating that we will reduce 2 elementary teachers, and I already spoke about the assistant superintendent position. What causes a budget to increase every year? Well, we have health insurance costs that increase every year. We have 4 bargaining units and then another handful of employees and all of the salary increases that go along with all those positions, and then certainly the payroll taxes. Again, if the tax levy is 1.77%, hearkening back to that earlier slide, if we didn't utilize our fund balance and the savings from our employee retirement system reserves, we would have to go out for a 7.43% increase in the tax levy, and we don't think that would pass. This is a breakdown of the revenues. So certainly we just mentioned the 3.35 of fund balance. We've got 29% in state aid. We're happy to receive that, a little bit from reserves. Local tax levy is 65% of the budget, and then some other revenues add up to about 1.23%. This is a pie chart of exactly what was mentioned in the previous slide of the revenue streams. This is the traditional 3-part budget pie graph: administration, capital, and program. We keep our eye on administrative. You don't want that to ever go to double digits. Program is the bulk of what we do. We bring 3,700 children in and we educate them every day. That's what we do. The 11% is what does it cost to shovel the snow, maintain the roofs, take care of the buildings, and that's how the budget is divided. This is a little bit of our budget history. As you see, at one point, the increases were pretty high, and for the last, 5 or 6 years, we've tried to level it off as much as possible. Certainly, we had the one dip a couple of years ago. I think that was the first year of the tax, cap. And so you'll see that the increase last year was 3%, and this year we're down 1.29%. We generally ask that people go out for one vote. It is $20,000 if we have to hold another vote, and we really try and put up the most responsible budget we can, being sensitive to the needs of our taxpayers and also cognizant of what it is our students need to be competitive in this global world. So that's the balancing act that we do every year. If the budget goes completely down, we have to go to a 0% increase, which means we have to cut an additional $1 million by law. So the difference of $1 million, by law, you have to take out all of your equipment. So that's $600,000 that comes right off of equipment. $28,000 by law has to come out of school supplies, and then the rest. And then the outside building use, we would have to start charging people to use our buildings for anything that they wanted. That's Girl Scout groups, Boy Scout groups, everybody who uses our schools. We would have to start charging them. The remaining $400,000, it has to come from a non-mandated area. This is a slide everybody's familiar with. These are the items that are non-mandated. It's always a surprise for people to learn that kindergarten's not mandated. Elementary librarians are not mandated. All of our electives and advanced placement, co-curricular, athletics, and we do have a language program at the middle school. So not all of them would certainly go, but we would need to find the $400,000 from one or more of those areas. The difference between our proposed budget and contingent budget is a 0.13% budget-to-budget increase, and of course, the tax levy at 0. It's just a summary: $88 million budget, 1.29% budget-to-budget increase, 1.77% estimated tax impact. The second proposition is our bus replacement plan. The net cost to the taxpayers for this year is $384,000 after our aid. This line we tried to keep relatively flat in the budget so that as we retire buses, we can add buses back on. Our number one goal is to be able to safely do the 1 million miles, as when we get George's report, our buses travel 1 million miles a year. So we try and keep them up to date and safe. The budget hearing is tonight, and the last day for voter registration is May 12th from 4 to 8 right here in this building, and the budget vote is May 19th. There is a longer version of this presentation with a little more detail that is on our website, but we really urge all of those 20,000 registered voters in Hyde Park or in our school district to come out and vote. Yes, Doug?
Could you back up one slide?
No, it's on this slide. Voter registration is at Haviland.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mistake. Voter registration is at Haviland.
Okay.
Good catch. I want to send people to the wrong place to go register to vote. Any questions? I know that, there's been a lot of questions throughout the process. This is our last hearing. Little known fact, people hear the word budget hearing and think there's time for input. This is a legal hearing of the budget, but the budget is already adopted by the Board of Education and was done so in April.
Greer, could you go back, I think it's 2 slides, where it's the bus There, right there. That line on the bottom, we will utilize our 5-year bus replacement funding schedule to keep this expense, keep level. What are we saying there? That, can you explain what that is? Because I thought we were working on a 10-year replacement. So is the 5-year, but I know at the same time, we try to keep our expenditure on the buses constant year after year because of the way that we're reimbursed by the state, correct?
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
So the 5 years is just throwing me off. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
I'm not,
I think,
and again, it may not be the best time
we've
to
always
ask.
discussed it as a 10-year program because there's approximately 100 buses, and it works out to a nice
Right.
number.
Okay.
How long do we bond for?
I was going to say,
Is it a 5-year bonding?
So
Well,
maybe the
typi-
5-year
Typically,
bond.
the buses themselves are 10-plus years old. Maybe that's where you're coming up with the 10 years.
Oh, but the
Yeah, I
bond
think the
is
goal
5
was
years?
to
But the
replace
bond is
buses.
five.
Bond is 5 years.
Right.
Okay.
But the bond is 5 years.
Right, the
So every
financing.
time
That's
you
what I was just
retire
trying to
debt,
get.
you're adding new debt, so.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
and we keep that level so that it doesn't
Yeah, I know that
negative.
each year we try to do the same because the.
And I see our treasurer nodding in the back that's our, getting confirmation that we're all on the same page and understanding that bullet the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be misleading if people thought we replaced all our buses every 5 years.
Yeah, and that was part of my point, is I think I want people to understand that we shoot for a 10-year life on the buses
Yes,
as a minimum, and that's on our primary fleet. There may be backup buses that may be older.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I guess probably it's more akin to, just to be clear, is if it's a 5-year bond, right?
Your ban.
Ban, okay, so that, so in other words, we buy buses, it's 5 years, then the debt's retired on those that we just bought, right? Is that?
Right, we finance them for 5 years.
Right, okay, so what that doesn't say very well is probably that it's like buying a car, and I'm done paying for a car, and now I'm going to buy a new car and take out another loan. In other words, I'm always, that we levelize that, we always have, in other words, as we retire debt, we're incurring new debt.
The car payment stays the same.
Right, yeah, I guess
Right.
Right.
that's probably that sentence didn't say that very elegantly,
Yeah.
but that's exactly what it's probably, what I think
And I
it's
think
trying to say.
particularly more
Yeah.
important is that even though we pay on it for 5 years, we use it for 10 years.
Right,
Yes.
right, exactly.
We're really getting
right.
that second
We're-
5. I mean,
right.
we all buy cars and we hope that they last as long as the payments.
Right, right.
We're doing much better than that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for that clarification. We'll look at that in that light next year when we throw it up there again.
Before, I know the hearing is actually just for the budget itself, but I don't know where else to say it, but we do have another proposition on this, election.
yes,
and we
yes,
haven't really
yes.
talked about it.
Yes,
and
I'm
it
sorry, I
kind of barely
forgot.
gets a mention, so.
Yes.
We probably ought to just advertise it, talk about it a little bit to get out what it is, the intent is, so people don't, because they're going to get there and go, what is this? And not really
Yes.
understand it. And I'm
And-
not talking about the normal board member election.
That's
mean,
in
if
the
you
budget
can-
letter, though. isn't it?
Yeah, I,
Is it in the newsletter?
I'll need to
I mean,
double check.
We kind of threw this in at the end.
Yeah,
but-
I will double check, and Debbie, if you can make a note that we'll get the word out and modify our presentation online. The third proposition is to seek voter authorization to have student members of the Board of Education.
One member.
One member.
One member.
They are non-voting, and they don't participate, or he or she is non-voting. The individual will not participate in executive session, but they will have a voice at the table. And the proposition is the Board of Education seeking authorization to make that change to the Board of Education configuration. Then the board can decide after, depending on the result, if the proposition passes, the board can then go to seek out a student member for the Board of Education, but they cannot do so without voter authorization to have the board configured that way. So we will double check all of our literature and update our slides and make sure we put that in a prominent place.
Yeah, I think it's important because people need to understand what it means, because they'll get in there and they'll see it in the voting booth and go, what the heck is this? And, you know, if they don't understand it conceptually, it's easier to crank no than, or not vote at all on it than, but it's important to understand that it doesn't cost any money. It's a permissive resolution. It's permitted by education law, and there are a number of school districts in New York State that have done it. And it just allows the opportunity and it's generally a high school student. I mean, no offense to our sixth graders, but you're not going to put a sixth grader on the board. It's generally a high school student, and probably more often than not a senior. But it's somebody at a senior level, getting kids interested in the democratic process, and also giving them a voice at the table and their perspective. But legally, they're not entitled to a vote, as the superintendent indicated, and not permitted to attend executive sessions. But it is permitted by education law, but the voters in each district have to determine whether they're going to allow that or not. And the best part, it's the one proposition that costs zero. So.
Absolutely.
Well, except
Kevin,
maybe a
it
couple
is-
bucks for a nameplate or whatever,
Yeah.
but that's about it.
It is listed, it must be a senior.
Yeah, okay, so it is a senior at the
Yeah.
high school, right, okay, so that does answer that. So, so I think it's an interesting opportunity, and I support it. And obviously, we wouldn't have, I think this board as a whole supports
Unanimously
it.
says,
We
yeah.
would not have
Yeah.
thrown it on here to put before the
Yeah.
voters if we didn't support the idea.
The actual wording of the proposition, if they choose to read it all, does explain all that.
Okay,
but,
yeah, but exactly, who's
We can
gonna
get some
dig into it?
posters for the lobby to put up some posters.
Like I said, it's an easy proposition to really advocate strongly for, only because it costs the taxpayers nothing. And so certainly it would encourage people to give it strong consideration.
Right, and the idea is
Yeah.
to get.
Interesting opportunity for the school
Get input
district.
from a student's
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna bring us another perspective.
And just as a commentary, this conversation started right after the SGO members
presentation, right?
presented their analysis of the survey at the high school. The data for the survey was presented to the kids. The kids spent a fairly large amount of time looking at the data, characterizing it, and then made presentations to the entire student body themselves at the high school. We requested they came down here and made an additional presentation to us, so we were so impressed with it. It gave some impetus to this conversation, and we think it's a good idea.
Very good.
We have some very impressive students.
We do.
We have a lot of very impressive
Yes.
students.
As
And
as
they-
Mr.
they-
Pardee said, Hyde Park students, particularly the high school students, are one of the best-kept secrets in Dutchess County, and he's right.
Absolutely.
Time they have a voice.
Yes. I'm gonna see if I can get the air conditioner to work.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Mayor, just one comment on the slides. The one where you presented the pie chart of the three breakdowns of the program. You have a dollar figure listed. I think it would be helpful, since you emphasized the fact that we try and keep the administrative budget under 10%, to indicate within the pies what percentage of the total budget they represent. Otherwise, somebody's going to be trying to figure out now what percentage of 68, well, 80, whatever million, 8 million represents.
You did say that. However, Dan is pointing out, if the numbers were in the pie as the percentage.
Yes.
Yeah, we have the numbers, the administrative is 8.4 million, program 68.8, capital 11.3. But I think it would just clarify, make it a point, when you point to say the administrative budget is under 10%, if you have the percentage inside that slice of the pie, it would be obvious. Somebody's going to be sitting there with a calculator trying
Oh.
to verify your facts.
Okay. Yes. And in the longer version, it's on a previous
It was,
slide.
I saw it on the other one. I think it was
Yes.
two pie charts. One showed percentage, one showed numbers.
Yes. This is actually the presentation, speaking of students, Cora and I will be visiting the government classes, and and I'm pointing to Mary Ann Mullins here because she's the teacher extraordinaire for our student government class, and every year she invites us in to give a presentation to the students in the government class, and we look forward to it every year. They ask great questions, and thank you for inviting us. It's an excellent opportunity to get into the classrooms and share the budget with them, and we try to not overwhelm them, so we do take some of the slides out. This is what we refer to as our roadshow version, so. But the full version is online, so.
Okay. Let me move on. At this time, may I have a motion to enter the public hearing portion of this, the budget, for comment,
So
public
moved.
comment?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, at this time, if anybody from the audience there would like to comment on the budget, this is your chance, girls. Come on. You can do it, huh? No?
Jump right up there. Don't be shy now.
Smile for the camera.
Hi, thank you, Mary Ann Mullen, and as Greer pointed out, a faculty member at the high school. I do want to thank both Dr. Rychek and Mrs. Stemple for coming to my classes and presenting the budget. It is a really great opportunity for our students to learn the details about the budget and be encouraged to vote. So personally, thank you both for sharing your time and doing that. And I do want to speak in support of that proposition, having a student member on the board. It is an opportunity for insight, both for the board, our administrators, and for anybody who's coming to the meeting or watching at home on TV, to get added insight and a whole different perspective about what is going on in our school system, and a very important perspective. I have seen it work in the community where I live, which is up in Red Hook, and the student members' presentation is excellent and very well received and very thorough. So I've really enjoyed listening to those presentations. I would just ask that we be sensitive, and it'll probably be one of my students, so I guess I'm a little personal about this, but be sensitive to the time of the meetings when we have a student member. This is a person who has homework and activities and sometimes work, and maybe even some transportation issues, maybe can't drive past 9 or is getting a ride, and these meetings sometimes can be quite lengthy. So I don't know if the board can make some adjustments to accommodate a student member with some time constraints, or think about ways to, condense the meeting. But I think it's a great idea, and I hope that people in the community get out and vote for all the propositions. So, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary, for the heating and cooling, and Kevin for
Oh, yeah.
fixing the screen. It's like a team effort here tonight.
Anybody else like to address the board? All right, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
So
Thank
there's
you.
no need to modify the,
Yeah, when we get there. Okay, we're now to the regular portion. We are going to modify tonight's agenda. We're going to swap 6.2 and 6.3 to give us time for the Interact Club members to get here, right?
no,
Oh, the
actually, we
other way.
don't need to change it now because the science fair gentlemen aren't here yet, so that was
Oh,
why
okay.
we were going to change it, so
Oh, okay.
we'll just keep it as is if that's
And
okay.
we will not be changing the agenda. So may I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah. No, they're flexible. They're trying to accommodate some student needs, and then it turned out we don't need to.
Actually, we neglected to comment on the one comment that we had, and I thought it was excellent. Especially, I never thought about the driving after 9. That, I think I thought of the other things, but I didn't think of the driving after 9. That's, although this is official, this is an official function, so they should be allowed to.
Actually, the
Isn't that
law is,
true?
that's a.
But you never know how, what the police are going to do.
That's a misunderstood law. It's not school function. It has to be a credit-bearing course.
Okay,
A
oh,
lot of
okay.
people think, oh, the dance, the this, the that. No.
Oh,
it's-
okay.
It's a
All right.
credit-bearing
Then
course
it-
is the only thing that permits you
all
to
right.
drive after 9,
Um,
education-wise.
I think it's a good motivation. Maybe we should just.
Yeah,
look at-
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm thinking I have to be home by 9 too. So,
I thought you were just going to come in with an hour's worth of battery time and then say that was
That's
it. That was,
down to,
Yeah, there are times when the meetings certainly could be a lot shorter than they are, and maybe we should start looking into that. But there are other times where they're going to run late. There's going to be things that need to be discussed. Our general rule of thumb is we try to have no more than 3 presentations, and we try to limit them to 10 minutes. But sometimes some presentations you can't do in 10 minutes, so it's flexible. So, but thank you for the comment, because we definitely need to look at that, because I can't think of any reason why this would be voted down unless, like Kevin said, people just didn't look at it, you know. So, okay, so now we'll move to Pride.
Okay, so we have some formal Pride, but before we get to that, you'll be hearing a little bit later on about follow-up to the employee engagement survey. And if you remember, one of the things we talked about was recognition and positive feedback. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tony Monticelli and Howie, our new, Howie's the new groundskeeper. Tony is one of our security personnel. But over the last 2 or 3 Saturdays, they have worked the events, but they went so far above and beyond that even community members were commenting on their helpfulness, their generosity of their time. And so I do want to give a shout out to Tony and Howie, and we do have plans next year for some real formal employee recognition, but these two deserve to be mentioned now and not to wait. Yeah. Right, absolutely. Look at the salary schedule for these overtime positions. It's very, very little, so they're really, it is a generous thing to sign up for these full-day events, and they actually, both of them worked well beyond the hours that they were getting paid for. I want to give out a shout out to Gretchen Meyer, the FDR health teacher. Every year she has her students enroll in a vocabulary.com contest, and FDR was notified that our FDR students were in the top 10 in New York State. So great endeavor there to get the students competing a little for vocabulary, and it was nice to get that notification that we were in the top 10%. I want to mention a student, Wyatt Kelly. She is a CTI student, a career and tech ed student at Duchess Foces. I almost said Ulster. Sorry. She took first place in the photography contest for the New York State competition. That took place in Syracuse. By earning first place in that competition, and there was a nice little photo spread, she now goes on to nationals, which will take place in June in Kentucky. So congratulations to Wyatt Kelly for that accomplishment. And just a side note, her teacher is Melissa Lawson's husband. So, keeping it all in the family. The list of Pride at this time of the year could go on for a very long amount of time. We have so many extraordinary things that are happening. I'll just start with, it is concert season. There are concerts every single night, including one tonight, because we have more than 180 things going on. So there is a concert tonight at Ralph R. Smith. The Jazz Festival was phenomenal. We have parents in the audience. It was both board members and teachers. The Jazz Festival was extraordinary. The Haviland Middle School play, the district-wide arts festival, all incredible events. The arts and culture and music are certainly alive in our schools, and now more so than at any other time of the year. On the athletic front, the tennis and lacrosse teams are doing really well. Specifically, baseball is 13-1. Softball has 12 wins, 2 losses. 13, did they?
They secured their division win today. Were they pushing run across in the bottom of the 7th?
Oh,
Make it
okay.
dramatic.
Very good. I guess you've been getting updates while we've been here, so.
I left my better half at the game to tell me what happened at the end since I left in the 3rd inning.
Great. I got to see one of the games that was really exciting. And track, I don't even know where to begin. The Oval Office competition had 17 teams attending. Our own teams did phenomenally well. We're going to talk a little bit later about the Relay for Life. And somewhere late in the afternoon during the relay, the track team came in, and they had been at the Tiger Relays over in Kingston all year, and they came in with a trophy this big. The freshman, sophomore boys took first place, so the track team is on a roll, the crew team's on a roll, tennis, lacrosse, across the board. They're playing well, and they're representing us well. We receive numerous accounts of our teams being, what's the term? The good sportsmanship, helping the other team members out. So we're proud of our arts, fine and performing arts, as well as our athletic teams, and we are very pleased to provide all of these opportunities to have students engaged in healthy activities that make them competitive, keep them involved, and keep them focused on lots of good things and not bad things. So very proud of our students. So I don't know if anybody else wanted to comment. I've seen many of you at many events, and they're...
I had one thing, because I like this kid. Ollie Lampkin did a review on a book, and it was published in the Poughkeepsie Journal, and I was really pleased to see his smiling little face there in the picture. So it was a great review. Yeah,
I
so
missed that. I would love to get
well,
a hold of that.
I have the article. I'm going to bring it to him tomorrow. You probably got 10 of them already, but anyway, it's always good to see kids who like to read, and that's one of my things. Is I'm very happy for him. I'm proud of him also. So that's it for me. I don't know. Anybody else have anything?
I'll just reiterate what Greer said. I did make it this year after missing it last year. The jazz cabaret performance was unbelievable. It really was. I just wish they'd have more fun while they're presenting. I've never seen a group of students so at ease and enjoying what they were doing so much as the 3 groups that presented. It was the jazz ensemble, the President's Men, and
First
the
Ladies.
First Lady, and they did an outstanding job, absolutely outstanding job. It beats any entertainment you get locally at any time, and it's cost effective.
Yes.
Okay. We'll move on to the FDR Interact Club Relay for Life.
Yeah. So.
I'll come up there.
So as you can see, we traditionally have our informal pride, but every now and then there are certainly things that go on that rise to the level of deserving formal recognition. So at this point, I'm going to ask that Gabriella Scull, Dave Meyerson, Chloe Sheridan, Brianna Cummings, Lauren Lyons, and Katarina Lee come on up here and join us. And then I'll talk about you.
Yeah. Why don't you split a camera? Yeah, right over there. Split a camera. Don't hide from the camera.
Thank you. Okay, so from left to right, this is I'll introduce the FDR Interact Club first. Near and dear to my heart, I'm their advisor. David Meyerson's the co-advisor, Rotary Liaison. I'll talk a little bit more about Gabby, but we'll introduce the students first. Katarina Lee, senior, vice president of the FDR Interact Club. Lauren Lyons, secretary of the Interact Club. Brianna Cummings is the, treasurer of the, they've switched roles. They've been with me for 4 years and they've had a couple of different roles. Brianna Cummings is the treasurer of the Interact Club, and if you don't recognize the name, she's also the FDR salutatorian class of 2015. Chloe Sheridan is the president of the Interact Club. And Gabriella Scull is from the American Cancer Society. And as I mentioned earlier, Dave Meyerson is the Rotary Liaison. Dave and I are both Rotarians. Years ago when I came to the school district, one of the first things I did was join the Rotary Club. They said, we've been trying to get an Interact Club going for years. So I did a little searching around and found out that there are 2 ways to do it. You can do it through the advisorship, which means a cost to the district in the form of a stipend to have it as a school-based club, or we found out that Rhinebeck has a community-based club. And at that time, I think he's still involved, but maybe not the advisor. The superintendent of Rhinebeck was the advisor, and I thought, well, if he could do it, you know, I could give it a shot. And the structure is that you have somebody who's an advisor to the club, whether it's a teacher or a community member or I guess a superintendent, and then you also have someone from the Rotary Club who serves as the liaison. And basically what that means is that David and I are co-advisors. For many years, the club is 4 years in existence. These 4 lovely ladies, all seniors, have been involved in the club from day one. Pretty much have not missed a meeting or an event throughout the entire 4 years. We meet every other week after school. For a while we were meeting in the evening. We tried a couple of different configurations. We were a small club, and actually last year we had a lot of seniors at the end of the year. We were looking at a club of maybe, 6 or 7 at best. One of the things we do every year is go to freshman orientation. We were all in panic mode. They generated enough members to say that we have 25 active members in the club this year. That's just one of their many accomplishments. So the list of what they've done over 4 years is incredible. The only purpose of the club is to do community service, which could be anything from food drives to singing at a nursing home, and a variety of other things, or fundraise for causes. They've done fundraisers for the Mediation Center, for Shelter Box, and I could go on and on. It's been 4 years, and that's what we do. We raise money. For a long time, they wanted to do something of a more significant scale and a larger scale. And one of the things that we talked about when we were trying to get the vote for the athletic facility is to say that we really wanted this to be for community use. And one of the things that did come up was the concept of, they have these Relay for Life for the American Cancer Society, and what better way to really hold to our word that we wanted to utilize our new athletic facility to do something of a grand scale. So the Interact Club took this on, and boy was I nervous. It's quite an endeavor. We started planning this. Conceptually, we thought about it last year. We pretty much started planning it in September. So from September until the event took place on April 25th, we've been meeting regularly. Gabby, our connection to the American Cancer Society for the last 3 months, has been attending our meetings regularly, and even met with these young ladies offline at Dunkin' Donuts, and really kept us all on course. There were times when I just really felt like, oh my goodness, we'll get some people there. I don't know how it's going to turn out, and we just kept saying, well, it'll be the first ever, and whatever we do will be better because it'll be the first ever. And something miraculous happened, because on April 25th, we had 32 teams of students, teachers, community members on that track, and a whole day of activities. You could just do activities all day long, lots of fundraisers. At the opening of the day, we knew that we had already raised $10,000, but that was what was known going into the day. At the closing ceremony, which is moving enough, because that's the Luminaria ceremony, and the silent walk around the track is the last portion of the event with all the Luminaria bags lit up. These 4 young ladies gave speeches at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day, they worked very hard on their script. Mr. Meyerson gave a great intro about what Rotary is about, because all in all, this is a junior Rotary club. When you go to college, the next version of Interact is Rotaract, and so the day came together, and one of the final things they announced at the end of the day was that the FDR High School Interact Club raised $17,500 for the American Cancer Society in one event. And unless somebody comes up with something else, I think this may be the first time in history that a high school club from our high school raised in one event something to the tune of over $17,000. So I definitely want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys did the yeoman's work. There's some other people to thank, Mr. Purdy, Dr. Amy McCardle-Rausenberger, Tony we mentioned earlier, Howie, but it was these 4 individuals and Gabby, and then Dave and I in the back, doing whatever we could, but really serving in the supportive capacity, but you guys did the work. So the least we can do is give you a certificate and recognize you publicly, but I was blown away, and you are seniors, and we hope to hear all the good things that you continue to do throughout your life. You're just going to be amazing. So we have a certificate for Gabby, so congratulations. We usually try and shake hands, too.
Yes, absolutely.
We did lots of hugging on that day, too. David Meyerson.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Chloe Sheridan, thank you. Oh, sorry, I jumped in.
That's okay. That's okay.
Brianna, okay, this one, it's out of order. Here, I'll just do it this way. Okay, Brianna Cummings, congratulations, thank you. It's practice for graduation with all this handshaking. Lauren Lyons.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to get it right this time. And Katarina Lee. So again, thank you. I did it wrong again.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. So thank you very much. I know for a fact that 2 of you have AP exams tomorrow, and that the rest of you have either taken AP exams or have more coming up, so please don't
Study.
feel that you need to stay. We just wanted to publicly recognize you and thank you, and I'm sure,
These the dreaded Common Core.
That was AP.
no, these are the advanced placement, these are these are the ones that have been going on for
Okay, just
years and years, so congratulations, thank you. We won't make you stand up. Yes, yes.
Thank you. I just would be remiss to not say something, on behalf of the American Cancer Society, but also myself personally. It's been one of the most rewarding experiences I've had with the American Cancer Society, work with the wonderful group of Interact Club students at FDR High School, along with the entire school population, the faculty, the staff, Dr. Rychik, Mr. Meyerson, and it's just been a wonderful experience with them, and we really so much appreciate their hard work and dedication to working with us to make a difference in the fight against cancer. It's definitely been a lot of work, but you did a fantastic job, and you should be very, very proud of what you've accomplished. So thank you.
Nice, thank you.
But another example of great students, great organization.
How much battery life you got?
Talk fast.
Okay.
We have on our formal pride to recognize 2 of our regional science fair winners. And I did receive word that Alex Sikas is studying for an AP exam, and Dalton Slagle was trying to get here, but obviously has not been able to get here yet. But we really wanted to publicly recognize them, and they have certificates. They did move on to the Regional Science Fair Award. We got to see their experiments at the science fair here, and then they certainly went on. And if they go to any further level, we'll keep you apprised, but we'll certainly get these certificates to them.
Okay, got anything else for the superintendent's report?
Yeah, I just wanted to give an update. This is Teacher and Staff Appreciation Week, and you know, we would like to thank all of the PTAs for all of what they've done to recognize and appreciate our teachers and staff. I also wanted to just say that we did meet today, the administrative team, and we have completed our employee engagement survey rollout plan. So I'll be meeting with, because this was the first time we ever had the survey for the employees. So we are going to have a series of open meetings where we will share the results from them with them and talk about our improvement plans. And the improvement plans are really coming together very nicely. So we'll share with the employees. I will also be giving updates, especially toward the beginning of next year, about how we're responding to the survey and all the new initiatives that will be in place. And we're really excited about some of them. Also, everyone will be getting a letter. The parents will be receiving a letter with the 5-week progress reports from me, thanking them for their participation, sharing with them some of the survey results and what we're doing, and the follow-up. And then the teachers and the staff will also be receiving a pretty detailed letter about our plans, and again, thanking them for their participation. And I'll have to get one to the students too. I'll have to figure out how to get one to the student body, but that's the follow-up on the survey.
Okay. At this time, may I have a motion to enter public participation, please?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. If anybody would like to address the board, you get another shot. May I have a motion to close public
So
participation?
moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That leads us to board discussions. I think we needed to discuss the naming, the actual naming of the athletic facility and dedication.
Yeah, it was funny because I heard in the newspaper article that came out in one of the local newspapers, they called it a nickname. But anyway, long before that, I had put it on the agenda. We have officially named the field the Oval Office, and I just wanted to throw it out there and then have the board discuss. Did we want to have an official naming dedication maybe at homecoming, which I think is September 25th? That seemed maybe an appropriate time.
Makes most sense, yeah.
Maybe get, you know, that gives us a little lead time to get whatever signage we wanted, but, so it was interesting, because I put this on the agenda a couple of weeks ago, and then I see it's the nickname. It's not a nickname, it is the Oval Office.
Now, that's the official name. That's why I wanted to do that, because it'll get lost in, you know, that's why, you know, so, yeah.
Okay, why don't we do
Yeah, just say,
homecoming
yeah,
and make it official then?
right.
Great. That brings us to 9.2. Proposed a letter to be sent to State Ed regarding the APPR plan approval. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, I don't have my computer open, but I'm very familiar with what the letter says because I penned it. As president of the Lower Hudson Council of School Superintendents, which represents 77 districts, we unanimously determined that the letter, almost the same letter, would be sent to every single one of the legislators that represent our geographic area, which is, again, 4 counties, as well as Governor Cuomo and every member of the Board of Regents. Every single one of those individuals received a letter. And my understanding from many of the 77 colleagues that I have, they'll also be sending a letter personally. We determined that sending, a blanket letter from one organization doesn't have as much weight as hearing from many people. So the issue at hand is, yet again, they're about to change the entire regulations for the teacher and principal evaluation system. And what we knew from the last time was that the rollout timeline was incredibly difficult, and it created a product that has very little validity. No one is arguing about not having an accountability system, but you need to have one that's metrically sound, that's valid, that's based on some, credible criteria. And right now what is being proposed from the governor's office is that the APPR be updated by September 1 and approved by November 15th. Well, it's mid-May. This is the busiest time of year in our schools, and then there's summer break. So you're really looking at a window of a couple of weeks to redo the entire plan. Of course, there's going to be much less room for input. Much more of it is going to be mandated, but where there is input, we would like the time. There's a lot of quibbling going on about the language of the current law, because it says "or" by September 2016, and that's actually in litigation, but we're hanging our hat on the fact that the way the law is framed right now, it says "or" by September 2016. So this letter is a petition to the governor and the Board of Regents and all our legislators to ask for help in moving the timeline from this September to the following September, so that we have a chance of maybe getting it right. So it's really entirely up to the Board of Education whether or not you would like to send a letter requesting that the timeline be moved out, and that's entirely up to you. So.
Anybody want to weigh in here? I'm of 2 different minds. It seems like we always put things off. So I understand it needs to be done.
There's
I
the
guess-
rip the Band-Aid off theory and
Yeah,
the give us time theory.
If you postpone it for an additional year, does that mean what's in place stays in place? And I didn't think that was such a great thing to begin with either, that it needed work. I agree with you that it needs to be thought out carefully and implemented carefully, but I'm leery of postponing it a year and then a year go by and have something else come up and say, well, we'll do it another year. I mean, if you can guarantee, for me anyway, that this is it, we're going to do it, and it's going to get done, and we're not going to change it, and the governor's not going to change his mind, and all that, then, I mean, I'm okay with sending the letter. It just, I'm questioning whether it's going to accomplish the right thing, that's all. I don't know how to say it, but it's like all the different curriculums that we've had and thrown away and started over again and I don't want to keep doing that. That was my thoughts.
Actually, that is kind of the debate right now. If this is already so much in control of the governor, which is odd in and of itself, and he's dictating a lot of this, then, so, anyway, my letter's been sent, so.
When you say it's in the control of the governor, from my understanding of this letter, we're sending the letter to the people that will make the final determination, starting with Tish, as far as that. So it's not the governor's final word. It's her final word?
No, it's the governor's final word. And actually, at one point, Merrill Tish was supportive of the change in timeline, and I think she's since then changed her mind, but I'm not entirely sure. But no, it rests with the governor, and word on the street is no matter how many letters come in, it's not changing. That's word on the street.
But as I read the letter, the timeline is basically that right now, that what today was, within a couple of days, they were having that general meeting to meet the requirements of the governor for input.
Invitation.
And if you look at the listing of the areas that had to be contacted, there's no way, I believe, that a meeting of 8 hours today
That's today. Yeah.
could in any way solicit the broad spectrum of views that the governor tries to indicate with his, that would be considered before they went ahead to generate the APPR.
And
And then they're supposed to digest all of that information and come up with the guidelines that are going to get published by the SED
by,
June 30th. Then the districts are supposed to go back and negotiate with their unions through the summer.
between June 30th and September, which is kind of interesting because, you know,
With the unions, the teachers' unions, to
which
come
we
up with
have we have an agreement that they work 183 days, so I have no authority to break that agreement.
Right.
But,
And then after that, we're supposed to submit it by September 16th of 2015. And, yeah, it's insanity. I mean, I think the letter is going to make it clear that, you know, it's unrealistic is the word. I would have used a more colorful word maybe, but I just don't feel realistic in myself to sit back and say, oh, sure, why not? I don't like tacitly supporting a document that I know is going to be so flawed that it makes no sense. So I'd support sending this letter and say, hey, you know, if you're going to put the gun to my head, I want you to understand that this is what you put the gun to my head, and then I can speak out and say, whatever you're getting is the best can do within the time frame you gave us, and my belief that it's a valid or workable document is minimal.
Any other comments? I'm fine with it, but
Yeah.
I'm skeptical that actually something will happen.
Right, yeah, but it doesn't hurt unless you
I think
try.
that's where everybody is.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, you know, that it's a token to send the letter, because I'm not sure that anybody's listening. Yeah, they're doing exactly, or he's doing exactly what he wants to do without anybody's input.
Okay, so I think we agree. We'll send a letter, and
Good.
hopefully something will happen. In the meantime, we'll continue on and do what we try to do best, and that's educate the children of this community, which is, let's just say the governor makes more and difficult every time he opens his mouth, so. All right, moving on. Have a motion, no, unfinished business, sorry. Are there any questions about the draft calendar before we, or I'll have give me a motion to adopt the,
So moved.
Second.
is there any discussion, any questions on the format? I think we've been over it.
I understand some districts in the county are starting earlier than the Labor Day weekend.
yes.
That happened last year.
That's
too.
really unusual, though. We don't usually.
Yeah, it happened last
ever
year.
done it.
One district did last year.
Yeah. Is there, but I think there's more districts. And then,
Yeah, it's
Many
because
more
it's-
are
It's
starting
late
early.
this year,
Later,
that's
yeah.
why.
It's
It's
much
late-
later.
It's
Very
as late as
late.
it can be this year.
Yeah.
yeah. And how does that, I've always been curious, how does that impact, and we all work around BOCES? And that has to have some impact on BOCES, even though I think in some cases, some of the districts are just starting with superintendent's conference days or professional development days. Students aren't coming until now the Tuesday after.
Like the 6th or something like that.
But
right? 9th
what
to
happened, I
9th.
mean, can you give me any explanation as to what happens to the BOCES schedule? Or some kids, they just don't get the BOCES programs on those days then, or?
I would have to look to see when BOCES is starting. I wasn't prepared for the question, so I don't
Okay,
have the
sorry about
BOCES.
that. I
No,
just-
that's
yeah,
okay,
it,
but that's a really good question. I know that, I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. I'll get back to you on when the BOCES classes are starting. I know that, when we transport some of our students, our special needs students to other schools that open earlier, if they're in class earlier, we start transporting them on day one.
Whatever their schedule is all year, we
Yeah.
transport.
All year,
It's
right.
different.
But somewhere
Exactly.
it's just gotta catch up. Like, I
Yeah.
know that some districts are starting 2 days, they're doing 2 days the week before,
Right.
so somewhere.
Yeah, I would have to look, I mean, I sit at the BOCES, our monthly meeting, and it did, maybe I missed the calendar meeting, I don't know, but, it didn't come up that was gonna be a problem, that some of us were starting after BOCES started, so, but you make a good point, I'll double check,
Yeah,
because.
I mean, just, it's not a huge issue, it's just kind of a curiosity to me as to, we all work around the same BOCES,
Yeah,
but yet I start seeing greater and greater differences between calendars.
yeah, usually it is, staff development days, but this year it is so extraordinary in such an extended time. I'll double check, because, I hadn't heard it, but I'll get back to
Maybe
you.
something out there.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Good
all-
question.
We need a vote. All in favor of adopting the budget, the
Calendar.
calendar, sorry. Opposed?
I was
Thank you.
in favor of it, I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, may I have a motion for 11.1, the consent agenda as listed in the
So moved.
Second.
second? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. So that brings us down to special ed. May I have a motion for 12.1, special education placements, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I've reviewed the packet as presented to us and recommend its adoption.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. I have a motion for 12.3, capital projects change order. We don't get to see these very often. Oh, I
There's
skipped.
one.
I skipped one. I have a motion for 12.2. I was so excited about getting money back,
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on this? All in favor? Thank you. Now we get to my excitement. I have a motion for 12.3, capital
So
project change order, where we get 15 big ones back.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. That brings us back to public participation. I have a motion to enter public participation, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Once again, anybody would like to? All right, doesn't look like anybody, so may I have a motion to exit public participation, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. There are no other matters that need to be discussed. Board subcommittee reports? I don't think there aren't any that I know of. Okay, there were none, that's good. Upcoming meetings, Tuesday, May 12th, from 4 to 8, voter registration, last day to register to vote, and that is at the Haviland Middle School in the auditorium lobby. Tuesday, May 19th, from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. is a district vote on the budget board member elections. And that is also at the Haviland Middle School Gymnasium. Thursday, May 28th, 7 p.m. is the next Board of Education meeting here at the administration office. That leaves us to, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. And your laptop held up there, huh?
Just in time.
You made it?